When the United States initiated aggressive military strikes against Iranian targets, it instantly sparked global concern that a massive, sprawling Middle Eastern war had begun. In response to that sudden escalation, the U.S. Senate advanced a rare war powers resolution, a specific legal maneuver designed to force the executive branch to halt military operations. President Trump authorized these strikes unilaterally, bypassing Congress and triggering a significant legislative pushback. This resolution serves as an active legal mechanism, a legislative attempt to pull the country back from the brink of a major conflict. This diagram maps out the 100 seats in the United States Senate. The Republican Party held a 53-seat majority, typically enough to block limits on the president's authority. However, the vote came down 50 to 47. 4 Republicans broke ranks to advance the resolution. Unlike many parliamentary systems, the U.S. lacks an anti-defection law. This allows lawmakers to vote against their party's leadership without losing their seats. This internal rebellion was driven by a specific fear among lawmakers that the United States was on the verge of another long-term, high-cost war in the Middle East. This vote highlights a persistent constitutional question regarding who holds the final authority to commit the nation to military action. The U.S. founders deliberately split war powers across different branches to ensure no single person could act as an absolute military authority. Under the Constitution, the power to formally declare war belongs exclusively to Congress, but the president is the commander-in-chief. This role grants the executive the authority to direct the military once a conflict is authorized. Over decades, presidents have used emergency powers and anti-terror authorizations to bypass Congress and launch military strikes without a formal declaration. From Korea to Libya and Syria, executive power has expanded while Congress struggled to assert its role in military decision-making. This shift has eroded the clear constitutional boundary, leaving the president with significant unilateral control over modern warfare. The turning point for this legislative struggle arrived during the massive escalation of the Vietnam War under President Lyndon B. Johnson. As the conflict widened and the human cost rose, lawmakers attempted to legally reclaim their authority over the nation's military engagements. In 1973, Congress passed the War Powers Resolution. President Richard Nixon vetoed it, but lawmakers gathered a 2/3 majority to override that veto and enact the law. This created a strict timeline. A president can act in an emergency, but must notify Congress within 48 hours of using military force. If Congress does not approve, operations must shut down within 60 days, with 30 days allocated for withdrawal. The memory of the Vietnam conflict established this legal mechanism, which the Senate is now attempting to trigger to halt the escalation with Iran. The Trump administration argues that the resolution is invalid because targeted airstrikes do not constitute a full-scale ground invasion. However, opponents point to Iran's difficult mountainous geography as a reason to avoid any escalation that could lead to a ground war. Unlike past adversaries, Iran possesses a large, organized military with sophisticated defensive capabilities. This threat has split the Republican Party. Old guard interventionists prioritize military dominance, while a new America First faction views these wars differently. The America First argument is that foreign interventions drain domestic resources, damage the economy, and cause global oil prices to spike. The logistical reality of fighting a fortified adversary like Iran has fractured the once unified Republican approach to foreign policy. But can this 50 to 47 vote actually stop the president's military strategy? The resolution must still pass the House and survive an inevitable veto from President Trump. Overriding a presidential veto requires a 2/3 majority in Congress, a much higher threshold than a simple majority. For an override to succeed, 25 additional Republicans would need to abandon the president, which is highly unlikely in the current political climate. While the mathematical odds are low, this rebellion indicates that the experience of past wars still challenges party unity and the reach of presidential power.